So again, there will be 8 problems. Most I take off is 8 points, so you're gonna get 36 points free. But that doesn't help that much, you know. 36 out of 100 is pretty catastrophic, actually. And hopefully we're gonna get 100% of the homework done. I have until tomorrow to grade the last homework. Because I know some of you have things to hide, yeah, on the last homework, that's what some people say. Okay, poly 7. What's the first one? Number 4. Aha! Okay, we talked about this before, yeah? The probability that this is on the test is like 0.8, 0.7, around there, 0.75 then. X cubed plus kx plus 1 equals 0. For what values of k will this equation have a root between 1 and 2? So remember, you think of this. You guys remember doing this problem before? Remember, if this is the x-axis, okay, here's 1 and this is 2. If the y-coordinate is negative here and positive here, to get from negative to positive, don't you have to cross 0 somewhere in between? That's the concept you got to know for this problem. Okay, so how do you compute the y-coordinate at 1 and at 2? What do? Just plug it in. What happens when you plug in 1? You get k plus 2. What happens when you plug in 2? You get 2k plus 9. Am I doing that correctly? Okay, so in order for it to cross the x-axis, you either got to go from negative to positive or positive to negative, right? So which one is this? How do you know? How do you know you're going from positive? This one is negative and that one's positive, or how do you know this one's positive and this one's negative? What do? You just have to try one and see if it works. Okay, so which one do you want to try first? This one's negative and this one's positive. Okay, so this one is negative and this one is positive. So solve this one. That's k is less than negative 2. And this one got to be positive, which is if you solve for k, k is greater than negative 9/2. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's the answer. K is less than negative 2 and it's greater than negative 9/2, which means that it's between negative 9/2 and negative 2. There you go. You guessed correct on the first one. So if k is any number between negative 9/2 and negative 2, then it's going to cross the x-axis somewhere between 1 and 2 because you have to go from negative to positive. Here, I'll draw the picture again. So it's, if the y-coordinate is negative here and it's positive there, to get from this point to this point, you're going to have to cross the x-axis somewhere in between. Okay, so number 4, number 5. Okay, so like I said, this problem is on the test, except it's not going to be this easy. But you have to understand the basic concept first. Find the value of k so that one root is twice another and all the roots are integers. Okay, so if I call, I don't know anything about any of the roots, so if I call the first one r, what should I call the second one? 2r, and I don't know anything about the third one, because all it says is one is twice another. So what do you want to call it? S, okay, or whatever. Okay, now that I label them, what do? Do what you normally do. If I add the 3 roots together, you will always get negative b over a, so that's negative 3. If I multiply them 2 at a time, so multiply the first and the second, 2r squared, multiply the first and the third, plus rs, multiply the second and third, 2rs, you will always get c over a, which is negative 16. If I multiply all 3 roots together, 2r squared s, you will always get negative d over a, which is what? Negative k. You write these equations on your paper, you can get 3 out of 8 points. You want the rest? You got to solve it now. This is just algebra 1. What do you want to do? Got 3 variables. We need to solve. What are we solving for? We're solving for k. What do you want to do? Look at the first 2 equations. The first 2 equations are only 2 variables. So solve for one variable in one equation, plug it into the other. Which one is easier to solve for? in the first equation. What would I do if I were me? I would solve for s. So I would go s equals negative 3 minus 3r. Then I would take this and plug it into this equation. But then simplify it, because look, you can combine these. This is 3rs. So r squared plus 3rs, but s is negative 3 minus 3r. Oh, equals negative 16. And look, there's only one variable there. So r squared minus 9r minus 9r squared equals negative 16. Something went wrong there. Oh yeah, there you go, it's 2. It's going, something's wrong, there you go. Okay, it's a quadratic equation. I like to make quadratic equations because then the people who guess only have one answer. So you got 2 answers here. So 0 equals, let's see, 7r squared plus 9r minus 16. See how I make my first term positive? Some of you, I still look at your papers, your first term is negative and then you get all thrown off. Make the first term positive. Is that factorable, or should I use the quadratic formula? It's factorable. It has to be factorable. Why? Why does it have to be factorable? Yeah, because it says one of the roots are integers, right? So it has to be factorable. So let's see, 16 and 1, baby. Plus 16 minus 7 gives you 9. So r equals negative 16 sevenths or 1. Why do I cross that one up? Because it says the roots are integers. Negative 16 sevenths is not an integer. However, tomorrow, if it doesn't say it has to be an integer, then negative 16 sevenths is an answer now. Actually, we should have just left it. Forget this integer. I'm going to cross it out. No, this is for next year. So find the values of k so that one root is twice another. That's it. Cross out the other stuff. So I'm going to have 2 answers then. So k, okay, so what is it? So how do I figure out what k is? Plug it into this equation. Okay, if r is 1, how do I figure out what s is? Plug it back into this, so what is s? Huh, you guys gotta plug in 1. Negative 6. So r is 1, s is negative 6. So can I figure out what k is? 2 times 1 squared times negative 6 is equal to negative k. Therefore, k equals 12. However, if negative 16 sevenths is an answer, you got to work with it for next year. So negative 3 minus 3 times negative 16 sevenths. What's so bad about that? Least common denominator 7. Negative 21 plus 48 is 27 over, oh, it's going to be ugly. Woo! 27 over 7. So therefore, 2 times r squared, negative 16 sevenths squared, times s, 27 over 7. That's too ugly a number. We're just going to leave it. See, that was the reason why I left it. Okay. Never mind, we're not going to change it for next year. Okay, but you guys understand this concept? Look, once you label the roots, so tomorrow, once you label the roots, just go through what you know. The sum of the roots is negative b over a. If I multiply them 2 at a time, it's c over a. If I multiply them all 3 at a time, you get negative d over a. Just do it, and then just, at least write that down on your paper, and then you can get as many points as you can. Just for some of you, you just got to minimize damage already, right? 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's like the 5 and 6 are like the same thing except different. You like it when my voice goes high like that? Okay, 2 equal roots. So r, how do I label the third one? Now, if you're thinking ahead like, oh, there's no x squared term, which means the sum of the roots is 0, then you can label that negative 2r, right? But let's just pretend you don't even notice that. And just call it s then. Let's pretend you don't even notice it. Go through the 3 things like I told you. The sum of the 3 roots, r plus s, is equal to negative b over a, which is 0. Oh, so s equals negative 2r. See, you're going to get it sooner or later, even if you didn't know anything. Okay, why don't we just put in negative 2r already? Okay, now what happens when you multiply them two at a time? Multiply the first and the second. R squared. Now the first and the third. Negative 2r squared. And the second and the third. Negative 2r squared. You will get c over a. So that's k. And then if I multiply all the three roots together, you get negative 2r cubed. That's equal to negative d over a, which is, what is negative this over 1? Positive 16. Oh, so r cubed is equal to negative 8. Oh, that means r equal negative 2, my pretty. So once you know r is negative 2, can't you just plug it in here to figure out what k is? Yeah. See, but how did I do this problem? You label it, and then you do write those three things down. Boom, you just do it. Don't even think. And then you just, whatever you get, you solve it. Except tomorrow, it might be a doozy to solve. Yeah. Okay, number, oh, very good. Everybody here got number 7. Because I told you, this is number 8 of tomorrow's test now. Now is the time to ask. If you didn't get number 7, you better ask. Everybody here got it? That's what I thought. This is on the test. I'm not going to even change these numbers. It's going to stay the same. Okay, the roots of this equation are a, b, and c. Okay? Now I don't know what they are, but I do know that if I add the three roots together, you will get negative b over, this is the third time I'm writing these exact same numbers on the board, people. If I multiply them two at a time, you will get d over a. If I multiply all three at a time, you get negative d over a. You write that down on your paper, I'll give you 1 out of 8 just for writing that down, even though that's going to be like the 4th time tomorrow. I'm not going to even change the numbers, or should I change them? Change the 7 to a 9 or something. No. Why? What difference does that make in the problem? That has nothing to do with the problem. Okay, now here's the thing. I want you to write an equation whose roots are the reciprocal of the original roots, like 1 over a, 1 over b, 1 over c. Okay, so if there's 3 roots, it's going to be a cubic. You know, again, if we assume a to be 1, it's going to look like this, right? Okay, what number goes in here? The sum of the 3 roots. 1 over a plus 1 over b plus 1 over c. Now, is there a way I can figure out what this is based on these 3 things here? You're going to have to use these 3 things to figure this out. Yeah, we did it on a previous homework. You make a least common denominator, write it in a different form. Does that sound familiar? And what goes on the top? BC plus AC plus AB. Hey, you somebody, huh? No, that's 5 halves. So tomorrow when you do this problem, you should be thinking, you somebody, huh? And then look at the denominator. Hey, you somebody, huh? Negative 7 halves. So that comes out to negative 5 sevenths. Okay, what goes in here? Multiply 2 at a time. So multiply this times this, 1 over AB. Then multiply the first and the third, 1 over AC. And then multiply the second and the third, 1 over BC. Is there a way I can figure out what this is based on these 3 things? You bet your sweet 50. Make the least common denominator, and then on the top you get C plus B plus A. Hey, you somebody and you somebody. Then what is that? Negative 3 halves over negative 7 halves, which is 3 sevenths. And then the last one is you multiply all 3 at once. This times this, which is 1 over ABC. You somebody, which is there. 1 over negative 7 halves is negative 2 sevenths. Box that, that's the answer. Don't you dare. You gotta simplify. How do I simplify that? Multiply through by 7 and remove the parentheses. I can't believe somebody put parentheses. Right? So 7x cubed plus 5x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals 0. Box that, that's the answer. Does anybody notice something with the original problem? Yeah. Oh, the coefficients just got reversed. Oh, so Mr. Park, anytime you write any polynomial equation whose roots are the reciprocals of the original equation, then you just reverse the coefficients. Yes. And math team people, you're expected to memorize this until you die. Oh, so Mr. Park, tomorrow, what if you give us a problem like this then? 2x to the 4th plus 3x squared plus 5x plus 7 equals 0. So if the 4 roots of this equation are a, b, c, and d, how do you write an equation whose roots are 1 over a, 1 over b, 1 over c, and 1 over d? You just reverse the coefficients. You don't even have to go through this work because you know already. So 7x to the 4th plus, we just reverse them. What's the next one going to be? If you go this way. 5x cubed plus 3x squared plus 0x plus 2 equals 0. So do you think this problem is on tomorrow's test? No! Why are you saying yes? Why am I going to put something on where you just regurgitate it like that? This is not a history class where you just regurgitate stuff. There's no way this problem is on. There's no way. You're going to actually have to do work to get the answer tomorrow. This is just something neat that kind of... Okay. Next, and then of course the 2 word problems. Aren't we getting better at these? Oh boy. Okay, now tomorrow there are 2 word problems. One of them involves similar triangle. And please use it on the right one because last year I had 2 people using it on the wrong one. They didn't even have triangles in the problem and they're doing similar triangles. You guys laugh, it could be you tomorrow. A box with a square base. Now tomorrow I'll probably give you a picture that looks like this. Is that going to help you? Yeah, I'll give you a picture tomorrow if that's what you want. No top is to be made from 64 square feet of material. So what equation can I write there? The surface area of this box is 64. So there's a square on the bottom. There's a square on the bottom. And then you got 4 rectangles around the side. 4x, y. That has to equal 64. You write that down, you get 1 point. No, but Mr. Park, what about the top? Where's Morris? So he's in another class. What about the top? There's no top. It says a square base, no top. There's no top. So for those of you who don't read directions, like Morris, I don't want to mention any names. If you include the top, you're going to get an equation that's unsolvable. So pretty much it's going to be like, oh, this is a fatal error. You gotta read the directions, okay? And then it says the volume of the box is 30 cubic feet. So what equation can I write? How do you find the volume of a rectangular box? The area of the base times the height. So x squared y equal, I forgot the number already, 30. You write that down, you get another point. You want the other 6 points? Solve it. Didn't we do a problem like this yesterday? Okay, how do you solve 2 equations, 2 variables? What do you do? Solve for 1 variable in 1 equation and plug it into the other. Which one do you want to solve for? In which equation? Solve for y in this equation. Okay. Y equal 30 over x squared. Take this and plug it in. Whoosh. Right there. So you get x squared plus 4xy. Doesn't this look like the one we did yesterday? Equals 64. So if this x cancels into that x, so you get x squared plus 120 over x equals 64. How do I get rid of this thing from the bottom? Multiply both sides by x. So you get x cubed plus 120 equals 64x. And what a surprise, it's a cubic polynomial. That's what we're studying. Tomorrow's 2 word problems will be cubic polynomials, okay? If you don't get a cubic, you're doing something wrong. So if you don't get a cubic, pretty much that's going to be a fatal error. And you cannot recover from that. Okay, now what? How do I solve this? I see third power. What do I do? Factor by grouping or synthetic division. Is anybody factoring by grouping? What? Okay, no. Let's try synthetic division. Well, you want to be royalty or you want to be peasants? I guess you're satisfied being peasants. Fine. Okay, factors of 120 over factors of 1. Can you see 1 does not work? So the next logical choice would be, who said 16? 16 is not even a factor of 120. No, 2 would be the next logical choice. Look, it works too. So you can factor this as it's x minus the number in the box. Some people are still putting x plus the number in the box. It was never x plus the number in the box. It's x minus the number in the box. And then you look at the coefficients here, the depressed coefficients. Hopefully you won't be like that when you get your test back. Is that factorable, or do I have to use quadratic formula? Wait, let me look at the bottom. X equals 2, and then negative 1 plus or minus 61. Box that, that's the answer. No, minus 1. Why is that a minus 1, Mr. Park? I did all the work correctly. Because x is a length. X cannot be negative, so you got to erase this one. That's okay. You get minus 1. 99 is a super good score tomorrow. Super good. See, it's not that bad. You just got to practice it. It's like that too. Okay, and then number 9. Oh, look at the words on this one. Ay caramba. A silo. You guys know what a silo is? Where you store the grain or the missiles. So you got a right circular cylinder, bottom included, that was for Morris, and capping it with a hemisphere. Then you get a silo. Put the grain in. Okay, okay, now what are we trying to, it says A, write the cost as a function of X. That's the key now. If you don't read the directions, okay, what is X? This is X and this is Y. Okay, tomorrow I'll give you a picture. Now, we're trying to write the cost as a function, not the surface area now, the cost. There's a big difference now. Okay, what's the area of the base? It's a circle. Oh boy. Pi x squared. But then I have to multiply by the cost per square meter. Let me read. 2. You guys understand? You got to multiply it by 2 now. Because we're writing a cost function, not a surface area function. Okay, now what's the area of the lateral area? Going around the cylinder. Okay, I'll tell you right now. Tomorrow, you don't know your formulas for cylinders, cones, and spheres. That's pretty much a fatal error. Because yeah, you can write stuff down, but then you're going to get an equation unsolvable, and then no choice, minus 8. You have to know these formulas. So what's the surface area of the lateral part, the sides of the cylinder? 2 pi x. Well, I can do this. You guys got to be able to do this. But then you got to multiply by its cost, which is what? $3 per square meter to build the side. So you got to multiply it by 3. And the hemispherical dome. It's a hemisphere. Hemisphere means half a sphere. What's the surface area of a full sphere? Wait, let me look at my notes. 4 pi r squared. But this is just half of that, so 2 pi x squared. And then you got to multiply that by the cost per square meter, which is 4. There you go. This is your cost function. Except it's not a function of x. You have a y here. So you have to get another equation to get rid of this y. In fact, you know what? I think I gave this problem on last year's test, if I'm not mistaken. And then the students are trying to make similar triangles. They go, what? What? There's no triangle in this problem. Or was it 2 years ago? I seem to remember that. There's no triangle in this problem. I need another equation to get rid of this y here. Did they give me more information? The volume of the silo is 24 pi. So you're going to use that equation to get rid of the y. Okay, so how do you find the volume of the silo? What's the volume of the cylinder? Cylinder part. Pi x squared y plus half a sphere. Well, the volume of a whole sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed, so half of it would be 2/3 pi times the radius cubed. And that's equal to, what does it say here? 24 pi. That's your other equation. So what you do is you solve for y in this equation, and you plug it in over here. Oh, Mr. Park, this problem's hard. No, it's not hard. It just has a lot of algebra. So what do you want to do? How do you solve for y? What do you want to do to solve for y? Shall I can't divide everything by pi? How do you solve for y? No, never mind. I'm just going to do it on my own. I don't want anybody telling me anything. You guys want to be silent? Okay, be silent. Y equals 24 minus 2/3 x cubed all over x squared. You take this critter and you put it in there. Yeah. Okay, I'll do it. So let's see. 2 pi x squared plus 6 pi xy, but y is this critter here. Plus, that's 8 pi x squared. And then you can actually simplify, because look, 2 gorilla plus 8 gorilla is 10 gorilla. And then what can I do over here? What can I do? This x cancels that x. So that's about it, right? So what happens when you distribute this 6 pi? Distribute this 6 pi. You're going to get 144 pi over x minus, if I distribute the 6 pi, what is 6 times 2/3? 4. 4 pi x squared, right? Because this x cancels into the x cubed. Oh, but then look, you get 10 gorilla and negative 4 gorilla, that's 6 gorilla. Look how pretty this is. There you go. Woo! That's part A. Now, of course, if you don't get part A, part B and C is gone already, right? Okay, part B, what time is it? Oh, I'm going to find this out. For what values of x is the cost 102 pi dollars? Where do I plug in the 102 pi? Right here, for C, the cost, 102 pi. Divide everything by pi. What about, okay, what about the numbers? Can I reduce the numbers? The 6 go into 102. Yes. Divide everything by 6. So if 6 goes into this, 1, 7. This 6 goes into 144. If you make the number smaller, people, there's just less chances of making mistakes. And then get rid of the x by multiplying both sides by x. Can't tell if I'm doing this. Hey, what a surprise! It's a cubic equation. I know I'm on the right track. So make one side 0. Changing. You got it. Okay, so 1, 0, negative 7, 24. We're going to do some. We're not even thinking about factor by grouping it. So factors of 24 over factors of 1. 1 doesn't work. What about 2? Does 2 work? No. What about 3? No. What about 4? What works? Who did? Nobody did this problem? Oh yeah, I'm just going to look at the bottom. Hey, wait a minute. 3 works. Wait. Oh yeah, that's why it's not working. Hello and goodbye. 3 works. Oh yeah, well, 3 works. Now it works. 3, 9, negative 8, negative 24, 0. So x minus 3, x squared plus 3x minus 8 equals 0. So x equals 3, or you got to use quadratic formula. This will negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared. That's 9 plus 32. It's 41 all over 2a. Box that. That's the answer. No, x represents a length, so you got to erase this one. And then the last problem is the graphing calculator. So what you need to do, okay, where's the function? Where's the function? Well, this was right here, yeah? Graph this on your calculator. And the key is the window, people. You gotta set the window so you see a hump like that, and so you can calculate the minimum. You gotta set the window. Some of you still just expect to press the graph button and you wanna see it, right? I don't know, in the Prism, can you do that? Because I know TI, you gotta do it here, so. What about the Prism people? Who has Prism in this class? Is there a way you can the thing just graphs it for you? Or you gotta set the window on your own. Saito. Yo. You don't know. Woo! So what are you guys doing? Just draw this on your homework. Oh, good. And then I'll copy that answer. 296.40. All right, I finished my homework. I'm ready for the test tomorrow. You guys are... I keep telling you, math, you have to do. You cannot just... Oh, yeah. Hopefully you're going to learn this somewhere along the line. You got to sit down and do. And when you study for a test or quiz, I hope you guys just don't do this. Oh yeah, yeah, I can do that. Oh yeah, that's easy. Oh yeah, I can. Oh yeah, I remember I done on the board. Oh, I'm ready for the quiz now. It doesn't work like that. You gotta do. Okay, so I think I pretty much told you the whole test already. There's no surprises tomorrow. It's just that things are kicked up a notch. Okay, we're done. So I'll be here early in the morning if you have last minute questions. What's the probability I'm going to correct your homework by tomorrow? Probably only 0.1. But that's still a chance though. The only free time I have today is period 5 and lunch.